The serene setting of Niagara-on-the-Lake contrasts sharply with the weight of the diplomatic conversations unfolding behind closed doors. Under the fluttering flags of the G7 nations, Canada's Foreign Minister Anita Anand welcomes her Saudi counterpart, Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, for a bilateral meeting that symbolises both caution and opportunity in a shifting global order. Cameras click as the two ministers exchange a cordial handshake, a gesture that speaks volumes about the balance between principle and pragmatism in today's foreign policy. In the polished wood halls of the G7 Foreign Ministers Summit, the meeting between Canada and Saudi Arabia is not just another photo opportunity. It marks a potential recalibration in a relationship that has long oscillated between strained diplomacy and pragmatic cooperation. Minister Anand, representing a Canada increasingly assertive on global security and energy transition issues, greets the Saudi delegation with deliberate warmth. At her side, Prince Faisal, one of the kingdom's most influential diplomats, carries the message of a Saudi Arabia eager to expand its partnerships beyond traditional allies, amid shifting alliances in Washington, Brussels, and Beijing. Observers note that this encounter takes place against a backdrop of renewed global debate on energy security, human rights, and regional stability. The world is still adjusting to the economic aftershocks of prolonged conflicts in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, and the G7 has been under pressure to bridge economic and moral imperatives. For Canada, this meeting with Saudi Arabia comes at a moment of delicate balance, one where foreign policy must navigate between national values and strategic necessity. As the cameras pan across the summit venue, one can see the soft formality of diplomacy in motion, polite smiles, measured gestures, quiet exchanges that carry the weight of nations. Anita Anand, known for her precise and composed demeanour, appears engaged yet cautious, embodying Canada's dual role as both a moral voice and a pragmatic actor on the world stage. Prince Faisal, in turn, represents a Saudi foreign policy that has become increasingly multipolar, pursuing dialogue with traditional Western powers, while also engaging with China and regional actors in new frameworks of cooperation. Beyond the ceremonial greeting, the private discussions between the two ministers reportedly touched on several key themes: energy diversification, investment flows, and regional security. For Canada, Saudi Arabia remains a vital partner in global energy markets, even as Ottawa pushes toward renewable energy and climate goals. For Riyadh, Canada offers a gateway to Western technology and a reputation for stability and innovation, both vital to the Kingdom's Vision 2030 reform agenda. Energy policy has emerged as one of the central threads of this year's G7 summit. With global oil markets still volatile and the transition to green energy under strain from inflation and supply chain disruptions, countries like Saudi Arabia remain indispensable players. Canada, a leading producer of critical minerals and a rising force in clean energy technologies, sees potential alignment with Saudi investment ambitions. Behind the smiles and small talk, diplomats understand the stakes. The path toward energy security in a divided world may depend less on ideology and more on strategic partnership. There is also a subtle but undeniable geopolitical layer. The G7's renewed focus on containing regional instability, from Gaza to Ukraine, places meetings like this one in a broader context. Saudi Arabia's role as a mediator in Middle Eastern affairs, including in ceasefire negotiations and post-conflict reconstruction, has drawn cautious recognition from Western capitals. For Canada, engaging Saudi Arabia on these issues may be part of a larger recalibration of influence, acknowledging that Riyadh is no longer just a regional actor, but a global one. As the lens captures the ministers exchanging a few words before sitting down, the tone remains cordial, even optimistic. Anita Anand's expression reflects both professional discipline and the recognition of an opportunity to reset ties that were once frayed by public disputes. Prince Faisal, a seasoned diplomat with a reputation for quiet persuasion, appears equally intent on signalling goodwill and strategic patience. Both seem aware that, in today's world, diplomacy often succeeds in the margins, in gestures, tone and timing as much as in treaties or declarations. In the corridors outside the meeting room, aides and journalists speculate on what this dialogue might mean for Canada's broader positioning within the G7 and beyond. The Trudeau government's foreign policy approach has emphasised multilateralism, climate leadership and human rights, principles that have at times clashed with Saudi Arabia's record. Yet there is also recognition that dialogue remains essential. The global crises of energy, migration and conflict are too interconnected to allow isolation or moral grandstanding to dictate policy entirely. As discussions unfold, one can imagine the topics extending beyond bilateral matters. The future of global energy governance, cooperation on critical mineral supply chains, regional maritime security and humanitarian aid may all find their way into the conversation. Saudi Arabia's growing engagement with G7 members, from trade talks with the United Kingdom to energy collaboration with Japan and Germany, reflects a deliberate strategy of diversification. For Canada, this meeting could signal a pragmatic step toward re-engagement, acknowledging both shared interests and enduring differences. The diplomatic choreography continues throughout the day. Between formal sessions and brief moments captured by photographers, the quiet hum of dialogue carries through the venue. Every handshake and exchange is an act of diplomacy, not just between individuals, but between nations defining their place in a multipolar world. For Canada, reaffirming its global influence through balanced engagement is as much about narrative as negotiation. For Saudi Arabia, projecting itself as a constructive, forward-looking power is part of a broader diplomatic renaissance. When Anita Anand and Prince Faisal emerge from the meeting room, their expressions are composed, but the symbolism is clear. A conversation that once seemed improbable is now taking place at the heart of the Western alliance. In an age of divided politics and contested power, even small steps toward dialogue carry the potential for wider transformation. The image of a Canadian and a Saudi minister standing together at the G7, respectful, purposeful and forward-looking, captures a subtle but significant message. Diplomacy, at its best, still moves quietly, but it moves the world.
But we couldn't, because there were so many people there, and they wanted to,
Everybody wants that. Merci, merci. Merci.